G'day Rugby League fans. Welcome along to the ACC's Mad Monday podcast, the ACC's NRL Expert Division, of course, coming to you live from the Export Beer Garden studio, even though podcasts aren't live, so that is 100% impossible. You've got Chris Key here, a.k.a. Eden Whenua Keezy. You've also got Manaia Stewart, a.k.a. Tino Fa'asua Manaia Awi. Manaia, you and Ben Boyce commentated the Wars game on Easter Sunday.
Yes, we did.
I enjoyed the commentary. I completely forgot it was on. For the first 10 minutes, I was watching Blocker Roach and I think it was Vossi.
Yeah.
And Blocker said something that massively wound me up. He called it when Tyson Frizzell kneed Charles Nickel-Klukstar in the back of the head. He said, he's tapped him with a feather there.
Oh, my God.
And so I was like, what the hell? Surely there's some other... the one I'm a part of.
If only there was an alternative to this commentary.
Exactly, like a collective of people doing funny commentary. Well, trying to anyway. How'd the commentary go for you?
Look, it was great. Anytime you get to sit in a studio and watch the Warriors, it's always a good time. Fridge full of beer, thanks to Export. But like a little deflating. I kind of jinxed us earlier this week by saying that this is a banana peel game for the Warriors. This is the exact kind of game that they lose, and that they did in the end. Now, the most deflating thing for me is that the ACC up until this point had been undefeated. I will now be tarred with that brush forever that we were the first team this season to let them down. I know you'll be very stoked that you weren't on that.
Oh, hell yeah.
You haven't brought it up yet. I knew you were waiting for...
I'm waiting for you to bring it up.
To jump on the podcast.
Yeah.
No one said anything in the group chat. And you know when you've fucked something up and all of your mates... haven't said anything about it.
Because it's too bad. It's just
so much worse than when they're giving you stick. It's like when you're playing golf and you start playing so poorly that everyone goes quiet.
Yeah.
Stop giving you stick about it.
Yeah, you're familiar with that as well.
Me on the 18th at Takapuna about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was funny actually. But I mean, shout out to Di Henwood, who, the Warriors undefeated when Di Henwood's calling them. That's how specific we have to. Or the Warriors undefeated with ACC commentary on non-public holidays. So whatever one of those two you want to go for, we'll fly that flag.
Yeah, ipso facto. Well, here's how it sounded anyhow.
It's looking like he might have broken his leg. We go left now into the attack. They spin it wide. Best on for Marju. He scores from here. And he'll run this one all the way under the posts until the Easter Bunty stops him. Smiles all around. And the workload gets a little bit harder here for the Warriors. That one was almost too easy.
Yeah, it's tough from here with 10 minutes to go.
It's the Marshmallow, Greg Marju. He's torn us up before in a different strip.
Great in the middle of the park for the Warriors.
110-kilo dummy. Oh, the short pass!
Get there! Get there!
We are back in this! Do we dare to dream, Warriors? Do we dare to dream?
Just when you think the door's closed, they leave it slightly ajar, the whole light on, just a fraction. Warriors, back in this.
And unfortunately for you, Ben Boyce, and for me, Manaia Stewart, we are the commentary team that breaks the run of form. The Warriors, up until tonight, have been undefeated in the ACC. Covers them, but...
Yeah, we're gutted. They're gutted. Just opportunities going begging for the Warriors. Players, of course, getting injured. A big game of what-ifs.
It will. Unfortunately, not to be tonight for the Warriors, but we thank you for joining us here on Sky Sport 9. We'll see you next week for coverage of the Warriors taking on the Cowboys. From Ben Boyce, I've been Manaia Stewart. See you next week.
Yes, Manaia and Bradman Boyce there doing one hell of a job. Unfortunately, the Warriors going down to the Cowboys. 34 points to 24. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot better, though, as well. I feel like we left a lot of opportunities out there. Before we get fully into the debrief, though, just touching on the Warriors are taking on the Cowboys this weekend, 5 o'clock Saturday, Sky Sport 9. Once again, you've got Tohu Henwood and Eden Whenua Keezy, and then that goes straight into the Hurricanes game afterwards. So, double header of footy there for you.
I've got some bad news for you.
What's that?
I've got a stat.
Oh, God.
No team this season has won a game of NRL Rugby League the week after playing the Knights. That includes us.
Right.
When we played them round one, we then played the Roosters and we lost. Every team that's played the Knights so far this year has gone on to lose the next game.
Right, and we're playing the Cows, who we beat, but they lost the weekend gone as well,
yes.
So they're going to come out and do a number on us, is what you're saying.
Look, I don't know. I'm just saying if you're getting a bit ahead of yourself thinking, oh, well, they're still undefeated when I commentate. This is the kind of...
Yeah, well, hopefully that can sort of counterbalance that curse there. Now, can I just say, having watched the game twice through now, one with horrific Blocker Roach commentary, one with your commentary.
Horrific Manaia Stewart commentary.
Yeah, both pretty bad. But the Warriors massively lost this game in the first half. The second half was totally fine. I went through the statistics, possession, blah, 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 because the first half was an absolute... the Knights just had the ball. At the end of the game, 50-50 possession. Our completion rate was around 80. They were at 79, so not too bad. Literally every single statistic, we were sort of slightly ahead or even with the Knights in. Yep. However, the first half was an absolute debacle, giving away penalties, set restarts. The first 3 tries all came from penalties, us not getting back on side, and just stupid. I think the only try that didn't was Bradman Best's freakish grubber across the face of the post, which he never does. But the second half, we stopped doing all that dumb shit because it is compounding. The more penalties you give away, the more defense you have to do, the more tired you get, the more penalties you're going to give away, blah, blah, blah. If we didn't have that happen in the first half, I think this game would have been a lot closer.
For me, there was a 12-point swing where Chance Nickel Kloster, Chance Nickel Keezy, as they were texting through on
that's good.
3236.
Clever.
Chance the rapper. Chance Nicole Kidman. He got across the line and scored. Unfortunately, the AMP show, Adam Pompey.
Oh my God, that's right.
He ran an obstruction, and so we turned the ball over then. We then gave one of those penalties away that we were talking about. They scored down the other end. That's a 12-point swing. We go on to lose this game by 10. We actually missed 2 conversions, so that piles on to the dismay as well of Warriors fans. This was a winnable game, but I think, obviously for me, it's 2 things. One, it's that 12-point swing that I just mentioned. But the other is the injury count.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we went in with no Tohu Harris, no Marata Niukore, no Dallin, and no Mitch Barnett. 4 pretty big names.
Throw on top of that Luke Metcalf, who's going to come into play next week because Tamari Martin goes on to break his leg during this game.
Hang on. Who goes into... Doesn't he go into hooker and then... Because Wade Egan will be out for another 11 days and then we have to bring Ronald Volkman in or something. Well, the team list comes out tonight, but...
Yeah, this is why we shouldn't do this podcast
on a Tuesday,
an hour before the team list comes out. Yeah. I expect them to name Freddie Lussick.
Freddie Lussick, sorry, that's the one I was thinking of.
And at hooker, it'll be interesting because Chance actually went into standoff when Tamari Martin got injured.
Right.
And then they brought Tane Tuapiki on. And I wonder, that's probably just because that's who we had on the bench.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see whether they stick with him. I think Chance the Rapper is too valuable to us at fullback.
Yeah, he's next level.
So I suspect that they'll leave him there. We've got Volkman. He started once this season. We've got Metcalf, who's been one of the shining lights of our recruitment in the last couple of years. Do we try and bring Dejan Arce back from overseas?
Yeah, because far out. He's like the ultimate utility Arce. He can play anywhere. But I think you're right in that Tuapiki will stay 18th man. Chance will stay at fullback where he's just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they will bring through these other boys that can slot into those gaps. My worry... Like when we lost Tohu a couple of rounds ago, I was like, I don't care, man. We've got so many awesome back rowers. We are starting to run low, so
all of a sudden we don't.
Yes, so we need another one of the RPBs, Barnett, to come back.
Yep.
We need Marata back ASAP, and we need Tohu to get over the scar tissue on his knee and come back as well because him doing a full 80 in the middle that adds a lot.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I noticed about our defense early in the game was, did you notice how many times there was a massive overlap? From them.
Yeah.
Because Kossi and also Marcelo were jamming in.
Yes.
Usually they're quite effective at it. However, it just did not work in the first half.
Not in the first half, but
No.
I felt like it worked quite well in the second half.
So they were slightly off. And we were actually quite lucky the Knights didn't quite get the ball. Like Kossi got an intercept and ran most of the way if the whole 10 of the Knights forward pack or whoever weren't chasing him and stopped them. That would have been possibly another try. So that's a bit of a worry, I think, is our defence, especially in the first halves for some reason this season. We've just let teams get away on us.
The assistant coach, Agar, he was talking about that he's in charge of the edge defence, and he was saying that they're trying to implement a new system in there and that they haven't quite got it all ironed out. And
right.
You're so right. The Sharks exploited that in the first half last week. The Knights exploited that right up until Kossi got that intercept, and I think from there they were actually a bit gun-shy, the Knights. They didn't want to go down there, and it started working. It also helped that they looked pretty gassed, the Knights, so they were all bunched up in the middle. They weren't trying to go wide as often in that second half.
But we can't obviously rely on that when we're playing teams that aren't the Knights.
Absolutely, we can't. On this game being a banana skin game for the Warriors, the exact kind of game that we historically lose, Does that mean that we're then going to turn around and win one that we shouldn't? Does that mean that in 2 weeks when we play the Melbourne Storm on Anzac Day,
Oh, God.
that we will beat them? Because statistically, they ran up 74 points on us last year. We shouldn't beat them.
The massacre that was. That was a horrific game. I tell you what.
Not since Gallipoli.
They did pants the Roosters over the weekend, 26-6 or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So this 28-8, sorry. So they are starting to come back into form, but I dare say that there is no way in hell they're going to do what they did to us last year. They'll beat us by maybe, if they do beat us, it'll be by, 15 max? It's not going to be a 20-point drubbing.
No, it's not going to be a 20-point drubbing at all because we're going to win it. What I find interesting about this time of season, and this happens at different points throughout different seasons, but it happens every year with the Warriors, is the bandwagon fans experience their first heartbreaking loss. Now, this is the quickest that's happened in recent memory, but this is the bandwagon fan heartbreaker. And it's been very interesting to talk to people over this week and over the weekend that have been like, oh man, what happened? The Warriors were going so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you think that this roller coaster only went up?
That's such a good point. I have not said the thing that everyone says about the Warriors all year. I'm not going to say that until we're in the frickin' playoffs or in the grand final,
That
right?
they have staunch defense and are reliable all across the board?
Oh, I'll say that hopefully quite a lot of times this season, but I refuse to say the thing that everyone says for this exact reason. There's still so much injuries, man. Like now we've lost, as we said, Wade Egan with another 11-day. It could be more. Second concussion in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Tamaida, who's looking so silky, he's gone for 2 months. I think it is fractured tibula or something, or fibula or something. So those are massive holes we need to fill. Another thing that I think we need to, it's so stressful, right? Mm. 2 of our most pivotal players in our most pivotal positions, Wade Egan and Chance Nickel-Klukstad, every single game, something happens to them that makes me go, oh, God, there goes them for the season. Yeah. Wade Egan was was on his knees and had his head on the ground and his hands behind him like he was doing a yoga pose. That's how badly he was knocked out.
It was like trying to sort of caterpillar his way up the field.
Exactly. It's like the most scary shit in the world when it's so dependent on this fantastic hooker and fullback. Chance has been amazing, but he keeps getting smashed because he's just into everything. It is the most stressful thing, and I do worry that we are going to lose one of those 2 guys, for an extended period of time this season.
Not guilty, Your Honour.
Yeah, what are you getting the ref's room number, mate?
Yeah, look, we are, and I mean this could be it for Wade Egan. Not it for his year or his career,
but I mean, off for a month.
This could be him off for a month. Yeah, this is the second serious head knock that he's had. It looked bad almost immediately.
Terrible.
And it's because, like you say, the way he plays, he puts his head into some terrible, terrible positions that you couldn't pay me enough to do. But like you mentioned, so in that 12-point swing I was talking about, that was also when Wade Egan got his dome rocked.
Oh, God.
It was in that 12-point swing. So, if they had given us that try and the A&P show, Adam Pompey wasn't, found guilty of a reckless infringement, then we probably, in a different world, would have had Wade Egan, could have really done with him.
Yeah, probably would have won the game as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of sliding doors moments from that game.
Also, Adam Pompey, right? I reckon offensively, attacking-wise, he's playing his best season of footy I've seen him play.
That step that he put on for that try.
I rewound it and forced my wife to watch it.
He caught the ball mid-air and threw a scucky step.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. Just Bradman Best, I think he went through a turnstile and scored. He's having a great year offensively. He scored 2 tries. Congrats, Adam Pompey. Holy shit, that dude still stresses me out though. Him scoring that try, putting his arm and the ball down, arm on the dead ball line, and the try down at the same time. That is just classic, the coach in the box, Andrew Webster, must have been absolutely shitting his pants watching that.
He was. He wasn't sitting down for the whole game.
I know, it's because it was stressful. And you're watching Adam Pompey, just trying to be all scucks and real, chill about it, and then, secretly glancing up at the big screen. And then just go, oh, shit, thank God for that. Because, just ground the ball earlier, then, it's so stressful. And he seems to be a player that does that a lot.
I've got a question. Honestly, do you think he went out?
No.
So, when I watched it, because I watched it this morning, the replay of the game, and I had to have blocker in that, commentary-wise, the ball touched the ground a split second before his arm did touch the dead ball line.
Yeah.
So it was super close.
It was like a fraction of a second.
It was shades of Bowden Barrett from the week before.
Yeah, I didn't watch, but yeah.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
That was producer Adam, by the way.
Hi, Adam. I have heard rumours that Bradman Best is still looking for Adam Pompey, that he's wandering around Newcastle asking if anyone's seen him. We asked for your nicknames, by the way, as well. Keep sending them in, 3236. I know there's no commentary, but we can still read them. We can't read them live, obviously, because we're recording this before.
Are you going to go back and check the text machine?
Yeah, because we don't have an official list of Warriors nicknames.
Do you know why that is?
Why is that?
Because the Warriors are playing so well, we don't need one right now. That's been it. Like, do you remember when you, me, and Wairangi Kopu did Warriors commentary in 2019?
Vaguely, I was pretty steamed.
Yeah, all three of us were steamed for a lot of that, and it was a lesson learned. But also, it was one of the worst seasons for the Warriors. They lost so many games. We were demoralised, so we were like, we need nicknames.
Always start a business in a recession, I say.
Well, we certainly started in the depths of a recession there. And this year, it's just been so much fizz. We haven't actually needed them, you know what I mean?
No, I think we do need to.
You think we need to bring some in?
Well, look, our relationship as the Mad Monday podcast with the Warriors players in particular, is strengthening.
Right.
We're going out to hang out with them.
Oh, yeah.
We got an invite to their barbecue that they do.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't. Did it just go to you, did it?
Oh, I forgot.
Is it just you and Di?
No, that's actually off now.
Oh, okay.
But so we're going to hang out with them a lot more. We need to have a few nicknames for them. This is the backbone of the ACC is having nicknames.
Do you reckon they like it? So if I go up to Adam, hey, Adam Whanua-Keezy, how's it going, mate? He'll be like, oh, shot.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, but if you are going to do that, can I be there when you do it? Because he's not going to know who you are.
It'll just be two guys with a lot of mana having a wee yarn there.
Yeah. And can we also please film it?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the first year we started doing, as you just mentioned, the commentary. Weekend Warriors, I think, was our moniker.
It was Weekend Warriors. It was only on iHeartRadio.
And I interviewed Isaac Luke, and Lee Hart goes to him, oh, Manaia does commentary of the Warriors. It's like an alternative commentary. It's really funny. Tell him about it, Manaia. And I was like, and Isaac Luke turns and he goes, oh, yeah? What's that all about? I was like, it's
that's a stitch up.
It's me and Chris, and why are we talking about the Wars? But look, we've come a long way since then. We need to compile a list of nicknames.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Did Bully, when he looked at you and said, oh, yeah, what's that about? Did he have those murder eyes that he gets where he looks like he wants to kill you?
Yes, but he's the nicest guy you'll ever talk to. But he just has this thing about him where he looks at you and just like, please don't kill me.
Look, let's look at some positives before we move off this game. We could have won it. First half was a shambles. Second half was better. Mm-hmm. We've got to work on our first half defence and not letting these teams run up a big score on us. Yep. The Pineapple Head, Tom Elliott.
Yep.
The man off the bench. Yep. Love that dude.
He's more Bunty than Bunty has been so far this season. I think that's because there's been more asked of Bunty. So Bunty's having to play that starter's role where he's not like coming in when everyone else is tired and having a massive impact. Tom Ali's been asked to do that, and he's been excellent. The IPA, we were calling him.
The IPA, that's right. So massive raps on him and hopefully we can find a way to keep him in the pack. Fingers crossed once we get injuries and things sorted out. The second thing is Sean Johnson once again looked fantastic.
Yeah.
I know he missed a couple of conversions, but you want to win games without having to rely on conversions mostly, so that's fine.
They were hard conversions too.
They were hard.
Sidelines.
He put on a few amazing try assists, like, that Adam Pompey through space where Adam Pompey almost went dead. He ran into the line, looked away, then popped the little short ball. It was pretty scucks,
He is looking like, we were calling him daylight savings because he's just wound the clock back.
He's wound it right back,
and he's looking tremendous. Anytime. Look, we've been relying quite heavily on him.
We have.
We've been flopping the Johnson out at every available opportunity, and I think as long as we continue to do that, we'll be in good stead. My only worry is now that we don't have Tamari Martin in there, is it going to be too much for Sean Johnson? Too much burden?
Are we asking too much of Johnson? Yeah. This is the thing we don't want to happen. Sean Johnson is stepping up because he doesn't have to be the guy that we need to step up.
Yes.
The whole team has stepped up so he can step up slightly higher, which is a weird analogy, but I'm going with it.
He's standing on their shoulders.
He is, exactly. Usually we all suck and we just go, Sean, do a scucky sidestep and get us out of this one. He doesn't have to anymore, so the pressure's off so he can just, but his defence, he's making twice as many tackles. He's running into the line twice as much.
No one chases their own kick harder than Sean Johnson. Every game this year, he's put a kick down and been the first person there to smack the fullback. Lachlan Miller was an absolute fits at one point during that game. We were pinning him down.
Which is tough because he's such a good player.
He's
having a great season.
Particularly in Supercoach. And it's been just good to see Sean Johnson in all facets of his game just improving. So I just hope... Look, I think we're in for probably like a lean month. There is a bye at the end of that month, so if we can limp through to there, try and rest up, get everyone back,
That's right. We've got Warriors, Cowboys, and then we've got the Warriors taking on the Storm. Then we take on the Roosters again. And then I believe you are right. No, then we play the Panthers in week 10.
That's Magic Round.
Right. So, yeah, it is a tough run. Then we're back to the Bulldogs again. So we've got 3 incredibly tough teams and one quite tough team in the Cows. So
scheduling losses. If we can just take one of those, I think we need to set realistic expectations. We've got a lot of injuries. If we can just nab one of those, if we can, we should be able to take out the Cowboys.
Yeah, we should be able to.
We just jag one more before the bye. We are humming. We're still sitting in 5th.
If you could select any for us to win, what would it be?
The Storm one.
The Anzac Day.
100%.
Holy shit. I would kill for them to right those wrongs from last year and get one over the Storm.
Actually, just to go different from you, Panthers Magic Round.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That would be...
Take that on the chin, Nathan Cleary. The Waz getting one over you at Suncorp. I will be massively into that. All right, but before we wrap things up, any last things you want to say about the Waz?
Look, I just want to reiterate my point to the bandwagon fans. This is a roller coaster for a reason.
And
it goes up.
Get ready for it to go down the next month or so.
It goes down. It goes round and round. And the only thing that we haven't had so far this year, we've had that was a pretty harsh loss, I think. We haven't had an off-field incident. The closest thing that we've come to an off-field incident so far this year is the fact that we are still on the hook for Matthew Lodge.
Yes, we are. A shitload of money too, like
$700,000.
Yes, so
counting against our cap.
That's just so when you think about that and who we could have and what we're doing, considering we're not in too bad a shape at all. But just a reminder to join us, Cowboys Warriors, this Saturday. 5 o'clock. Me and Di Hendwood. Then you got the Hurricanes game straight afterwards as well. Let's go Waz. Now, as I was away in Queenstown all weekend, Manaia, couldn't exactly take my lovely wife and say I want to watch 8 games of NRL, so I've left this one up to you. It is time for the stonker of the round. Manaia Stewart, what game have you selected for us?
I want to take you back to 1930.
Right.
The BBC had just started broadcasting news on the television.
Right.
One day they came on and they said, we have an announcement. There is no news today. And they just decided we're not going to do the news because nothing happened. And that's what we're doing this weekend, because for the stonker of the round, none of the games were close. They were all blowouts. The Rabbitohs, we'll talk about them shortly, they ran up 50. The Panthers ran up 44. The closest game of the round, or the game that had the most tense finish, was probably one of the worst games of the round, and it was the Titans versus the Dragons.
So we're not doing that because it was shit?
No, it was shit. It was an awful finish to the game. Like, it was Ben Hunt, who... big game player. He made big game plays. Preston Campbell's boy scored a try as well. But for the 70 minutes leading up to that, it was absolute trash.
Right.
So outside of that, Broncos Raiders was, I guess you could call it an upset. We'll talk about that one very shortly as well.
Right.
But it didn't feel like it could have gone either way towards the end, if you know what I mean.
So there was no stonker this week?
There was no stonker this week.
Right. Okay, well, that's easy. Let's take a break.
Not guilty, Your Honour.
Yeah, what are you getting the ref's room number, mate?
Welcome back to the Mad Monday podcast. I'm assuming an ad break played just then. If not, it's going to be pretty silly. Just sort of silence for a few seconds.
That was one of my favourite ads, actually.
Yeah,
it
was.
I loved it. What was it again?
We don't have time to get into that, mate, because we've got to get into the talking points of the round. Quick reminder, you got Adam Whanua-Kizzy, Tino Fa'asua, Manaia Awi on the podcast this week, and we are live from the Export Beer Garden studio. Talking points for the week, Manaia. First one, and it's a big one. Oh, shit. The Panthers are back, and the Rabbitohs look to be back as well. Your thoughts, please?
My thoughts on the Panthers has been the same since the start of the season. They've played more rugby league recently than anyone. Half of the New South Wales team last year was Panthers.
That's right.
So they were playing back-to-backs midway through the season. They've played more finals footy than anyone else, because for the last 3 seasons, they've been in the grand final.
They're in the Super Club Challenge or whatever it is.
They were playing, yeah, absolutely. They were playing internationals. A lot of their players were internationals. I think they had like 3 or 4 different players turning out for Samoa. They had Australians. It's been so much footy for them to play, and a fair few changes as well. They've lost a lot of players. They are still, I think, the team to beat this season. I think that it's only a matter of time before they wind into putting massive scores on teams again, and that's what they did this week against the Sea Eagles. The Sea Eagles have been looking a little bit rough. They got off to a rocking start at the start of the season, and then they really slowed down.
I think the Sea Eagles are the same team that they were when Tom was healthy, when Tommy was out. Was it not last season, maybe the season? I can't remember, but they got off to a slow start and then came roaring home with scoring big points, beating teams. Whenever they took on the top teams, the teams with decent defense, they couldn't win. I think they are still capable of doing that. Admittedly, Tom not as healthy, had to get injections at halftime for back spasms and stuff. Garrick got injured, so that's not good. But I think they're a team who their philosophy is offense is the best defense.
100%.
So if you could stop that, you can put a lot of points past them. The Panthers did that. Holy shit, Sonny Luke is the man. When he comes on for Mitch Kenny 20 minutes into the game, Mitch slides into prop or something. He is... he literally looks like Api Korisau, just a wee bit more inexperienced.
Well, that's pretty much what he's been doing for the last few years, isn't it? He's just been sitting on the sidelines watching him. But you're so right. Coming out of dummy half, shaping one way, going the other, throwing steps. Because a lot of dudes kind of tend to check out when they're in at marker. And if you do that for half a second, you're on your knees and he's just dribbling it in over the...
What do you mean?
Tip of your nose. And it's been a great season for Sonny Luke. I don't know if you bring him in to start. I wonder if he's a bit more of an impact player.
I reckon he'll be starting in a month's time.
Do you hope that because he's in your fantasy team?
Hell yeah, baby. But also, you watch him. He put on 2 try assists, created something out of nothing. He's just got good game awareness. And Mitch Kenny's just sort of plods along, makes tackles, never does anything amazing, never stuffs anything up.
No, he's solid.
You need that uppy style player.
Yep.
I also love Zach Hosking. I think he's going to maintain his spot there. And for Luke Garner, who's started with a few niggles, but also was just shocking to start the season.
Yes.
So Hosking, I think, is going to be a bit of a gun.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about him tomorrow on the Supercoach as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Dylan Edwards, 4 tries. Do you buy into the fact that he's a top, sort of one of the 3 best fullbacks in the league?
I mean, you kind of have to look at it statistically and say, yeah, he is. He runs for massive meters. I think the problem with him is the same thing that Clint Gutherson suffers from. You don't see him on highlight plays.
No.
Unless he's making a try-saving tackle, but even then you don't really see those.
Or you don't see him doing some scucky steps and throwing skip passes and stuff.
Nah, he's not Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. You know, he is not like Latrell. He's not one of these insanely talented players. Not saying he's not talented, but he's just a workhorse. He runs 1,000,000 meters a game. He makes every single tackle.
So is he top 3 for you then?
Who would I go?
So here we go. Is he better than Tedesco?
No.
Is he better than Turbo?
No.
Is he better than Latrell?
This year?
Did you see Latrell the weekend? So that's the thing. He's not top 3 then.
No,
What about Pappenhausen?
Oh, you can't put Pappenhausen in this year.
No, he started running again.
I've played as many games for the Storm this year as Ryan Pappenhausen has, okay? So I don't want to hear... that's a big hypothetical. But on the Rabbitohs, they put up 50.
Oh, they certainly did.
Against the Bulldogs?
We'll go the scores real quick on this one. Rabbitohs 50, Bulldogs 16, and the Panthers beat the Seagulls 44-12.
Yeah. Now, famously, no team has ever won the competition after having 50 hung on them, so that rules the Bulldogs out.
So they're done.
Sorry, Bulldogs fans. This has always been a hallmark of the Rabbitohs team, particularly over the last sort of 4 years or so. They can run up massive scores.
Absolutely.
They can run up whoppers. They haven't really let loose like they did on Friday night. It was kind of disappointing because that was like primetime viewing that Friday night, Easter Friday, park up with a few beers, the pubs are shut, so you're at home, and then it's a blowout by halftime. You're like, well, what's the point of this?
It was a pretty scucks blowout, though. I love Latrell Mitchell.
A triple, I think he scored back-to-back tries within 3 minutes.
He could have had 5 tries. A couple went begging, and then to finish the game was 46-16. He threw the most ridiculous one-handed offload lob all the way out to Campbell Graham, who scored a try in the corner.
It's easy to do that when you're 40 points up on someone.
Yeah, and also when you're just riding high and full of confidence. However, I feel there is a massive weakness in the Rabbitohs that someone like Reid Marnie could have capitalised on.
What's that?
Tackle Cody Walker and then use his face to push yourself up. Boom. He sees red, game over. Get in Cody's head because he's playing amazing at the moment.
Yeah, he is.
So just ruffle him up a wee bit.
It was that player last season, might have been the season before, I think it was last season, who got into a bit of back and forth with Cody Walker, and then he lost his rag and tackled him at halftime.
Oh, that was wasn't it Johns?
Yeah, someone.
Who's the guy with long hair that used to play for the Bulldogs?
Someone is screaming at their iPod phone right now.
Yeah, you talk while I Google.
Nah.
Lachlan Lewis.
Yeah, nice.
It was Wally's nephew. That's who it was. Yeah.
It was a brain explosion. So I don't know if that tactic's necessarily going to work. My only last point on this, Panthers and Rabbitohs putting up big scores. One of the biggest problems over the last 2 years has been blowouts, and it was mostly attributed to the 6 again rule.
And by the way, you're a massive hypocrite if you think you can tell people off about blowouts. Because you're prone to the music.
Well, as a proponent of the blowout, I know that they're self-propelling. The
Yes,
blowout.
they are, yeah.
It's a downward spiral. So once a blowout starts happening, you don't often see a comeback. But shout out to Musashi for fueling mine. I just wonder if we're going to start seeing a few more blowouts this season because...
What are you talking about, the NRL or you?
Well, certainly me, but I mean the NRL in particular.
Yeah.
I just wonder if, as injuries start mounting throughout the season, I was hoping, because the start of the season, first 5 rounds, amazing, so
Best
many
month
tight
of
finishes.
footy ever.
This week, no stonkers to be seen, and I just am a little bit hesitant that maybe we might start seeing the blowouts blown out again.
Yeah, no, you're right, because the first month it was anyone's game, and then...
Yeah.
To be fair, a lot of the games this weekend, though, were upsets. Like, I thought the Warriors would beat the Knights. They didn't. The Eels only just beat the Tigers 28-22. The Raiders upset the Broncos. The Dolphins beat the Cow. Like, there are a lot of things sort of there or thereabouts, but there were a few blowouts. And I think we are starting to see the separation a wee bit.
A little bit.
But, I mean, I'll still take the opening month has been fantastic compared to last season where you knew straight away who was going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think you're right. Some more blowouts are to come, both on and off the field. Here's another talking point for you. The Broncos' winning run officially ended by the Raiders, which means the Broncos are sitting all the way down in first position on the table still. Still ahead of the Panthers, who are second, the Storm, who are third, and the Dolphins and Warriors, fourth and fifth. Then the Titans. People are looking at those middle 3 teams, ask the Dolphins and the Titans going, what the hell?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Broncos had their run ended. Did you get your eyes around this game?
Yeah, look, I wrote one note down for this game, and for the Raiders, it was winning ugly.
Right.
Let me read a few names to you. Corey Horsburgh,
Ugly.
Sebastian Chris,
Ugly.
and welcome back, Jared Croker,
Captain Ugly, yeah.
versus Jordan Ricky,
Oh, hot.
Reece Walsh,
So hot.
Jesse Arthurs.
Jesse Arthur's so hot. Even Ezra Mam's quite hot.
Oh, Ezra Mam, I actually wrote down and then crossed out for Jesse Arthurs.
Like you're really tossing up.
So you want to talk
Literally.
about winning ugly. This was the definition of winning ugly for the Canberra Raiders. They went to Suncorp Stadium. They showed up with the mean Pukana faces on, and that was just their default faces. And they won. They played well. This was a good game.
I listened to this other podcast that Sam Williams, he's the halfback for the old Raiders, just to get all my hot takes and pretend I know about rugby league. But he's a former Raiders halfback. He was there or thereabouts. I think he played for the Dragons or something as well. And every week he says the same thing when everyone's tipping against the Raiders. He goes, I don't know, man, the Raiders, I think they've got an upset in them. Ricky knows how to get these boys up. And then they get absolutely blown out. But he said it this week, and I was like, yeah, right, mate. The Broncos are in hot form. And they actually did do it. Rapana came back, and although he got his head split open by Marty Tapose, sorry, it's Topa'u, I think is how you're saying it now, split open by his knee. But yeah, shout out to the Raiders. I still think they're going to be shithouse for the rest of the season, though.
Yeah, they're massively a mixed bag. Did they have Jack Whiten this week?
No, he wasn't playing.
They didn't. For some reason, I have him in my head. But so for them to win without him is tremendous. But they're just such a mixed bag. I wouldn't go anywhere near them with my TAB account. We'll talk about that later on. But
would you bet against them though? Because I think this game upset a lot of multis. It certainly wrecked mine.
Definitely would have.
I had $1 on it and I was pissed off.
You just have to stick around till the end of the podcast to find out whether I would or not.
Oh, it's true. The TAB good punt coming up soon after one last talking point, which is, oh shit, the Tigers are definitely screwed now. Adam Dewey just did his knee. Watched the game last night, actually. I was away in Queenstown all weekend, emceed a fantastic wedding, and, when you go away for a few days, you're on the piss for quite a lot of it. You get home, there's a lot of admin at the airport. You get home, you're just knackered.
Yeah.
Park up on the couch, chuck $2 on, a couple of Eels players to score.
Yeah.
Watched the whole game, highly enjoyable. The Tigers looked okay. The Eels were not convincing, but
No.
Adam Dewey did his knee and is likely out for 9 months.
Yeah.
That's their season. I mean, it already was done, but that's their season really done.
Well, they're out of title contention, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
The Tigers. It'll be hard to argue against that. Monday night Easter game, every year I forget that they do it, and every year it's the most pleasant surprise
It
to
is.
find on a Monday after
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
it's lovely.
Like you mentioned, you've just had a long weekend, you're buggered. I just put a load of washing away,
yeah, and watch,
which is me done on the laundry for the year. So I rewarded myself with a couple of ice-cold exports and parked up on the end of the couch and subjected my missus to 80 minutes of rugby league football on a Monday night.
Man, we live very similar lives. While Luce was in the kitchen making a roast chook and some potatoes and stuff, I was just lying on the couch watching Mitch Moses run a train on Tigers. Holy shit, that was his best game of the season. 4 try assists, maybe even 5, can't remember, but he finally put on a clinic as someone that has him in my NRL draft side. He's been pretty shit. Still not convinced by the Eels, though.
No, I've got a couple of points on the Tigers here. Obviously, Dewey, that's terrible. 3rd ACL on that same leg, I think.
And it was strapped all season as well.
Yeah, I know. Luke Brooks really stepped up when Dewey went down. I thought that he was like jumping out of dummy half. Tim Sheen said, not that I agree with a lot of things that Tim Sheen says, but he said that the problem is everybody expects him to score 5 tries every game. So take a bit of pressure off him. Like now, the season is essentially done. Very early doors. Just let him cook for a while. But the other thing is, when we've had injuries, or when the Tigers have had injuries, they've been putting, Adam Dewey back at fullback. I watched the Magpies game before, the warm-up game, their feeder club.
Right.
Do you know who the fullback was for the Western Sydney Magpies?
Who?
Dane Laurie, who was tremendous last season.
Who's been in good form.
Has been in great form, and they've decided, well, actually, nah, Dane, you're not going to play. Even when our starting fullback is out, we're just going to put Dewey back there.
Well, hang on. Would you rather drive to work in a lorry or in a Forbes Ferrari? Because that's who they had at fullback, was Charlie Staines.
Yep.
And to be fair, he played pretty well.
Yeah, well, he's a handy winger as well. The other thing that, obviously, there's a lot has been made of this, but Jackson Hastings, he just carved us up at the Knights.
That's right, yeah.
Exactly the kind of player they could have done with at the Tigers.
He played so well for them and they just let him go. That's some dumb shit right there from the Tigers.
Yeah, and two final points for me. The first one is they've got a bye this week. No team deserves it more than the Tigers this week.
Get some points on the board.
Good God, do they need it? Yeah. Get the 2. They probably won't even get those, to be honest, the way they're going. And the final point for me, Papali'i, come home. What are you doing, man?
He's getting paid, is what he's doing. He rose his stocks. He did it beautifully. He played it perfectly. Went to the Eels, best back row 2 years in a row.
It was
went
a
to the
cash
Tigers. Now he's at the Tigers. Like, he had one run last night. I remember thinking, "Oh, that looks like vintage Papali'i."
Yeah,
but it's not. He can't do what he does unless the rest of the team is sort of attracting their share of defenders. The Tigers are so clunky, and when he gets the ball, people are already up in his face. Whereas at the Eels, he get the ball in a bit of space because they had to worry about other players.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I think he's still in good form, but he's just not getting any proper opportunities, really.
But come and do it here, though, bro.
At the Wars.
I've just workshopped a 3-team trade in my head. Tell me if this makes any sense. We acquire Papali'i.
Okay, it makes perfect sense.
The Roosters, they acquire Luke Brooks.
Right, why don't they just acquire the rest of Matt Lodge's debt?
Tigers take on Matt Lodge. So the Tigers are tanking anyway. Here's a $700,000 player. We'll foot the bill, by the way.
Yeah.
We're already paying him.
Yeah.
You just give us Papali'i.
So you think that the Roosters taking Luke Brooks, who they have no need for because Sam Walker and Luke Carey are there, and they need, I know what we need, guys, a third really undersized half. Let's get rid of our massive psycho forward that the Warriors are paying for.
I'm just trying to get him home,
Yeah,
I miss him.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. All right, well, that wraps up all the talking points for round 6 in the NRL. Before we wrap things up, of course, we have to get into the TAB Good Punt.
TAB Good Punt. Good Punt. Good Punt. Good Punt.
So every week we get...
Sorry, nice work on the reverberation there. Because I know I see what you did there, and every time he says "good punt," I hear it.
Good punt, just really ramming that one home. Okay, so every week we get a $100 bonus bet from our mates at the TAB. This is the, as you mentioned, the good punt.
Yep.
Last week we got on the Roosters and Storm to go to overtime. Can't win them all.
You picked that, right?
Yep, sure did.
Didn't you pick this week's one as well?
Yep, I've gone again. And this week I have placed a $100 bonus bet on a bet.
Hang on. Before you... I mean, that was a shocker of a bet to put on. The Melbourne won 28-8. It did not go anywhere near Golden Point. Why do you get to put it on again?
Tips, not slips, Chris.
Right, okay.
We'd all like to bet in hindsight, wouldn't we?
Right, okay.
We'd all love to bet in retrospect.
What have you got here?
I am flopping my Johnson out on the table, and I am putting on a bet that I like to call the Tarantula.
Oh, God, an 8-leg multi. Oh, shit.
How many games are there this weekend?
8.
I've put a 8-leg bet on all of the favourites. So we go and chalk every team that is favoured to win this weekend. South Sydney Rabbitohs,
okay.
Roosters, Storm.
You think Roosters will beat the Sharks with Nico Hines?
I think the Roosters will beat...
clunky as they just lost to Storm by 20.
We beat the Sharks. The South Sydney Rabbitohs will run 50 points up on the Dolphins. There's no way that Wayne Bennett lets that one get away from them. Melbourne Storm are going to play the Manly Sea Eagles. It's basically who can suck harder out of the two of those because they're two good teams that suck at the moment. Penrith Panthers, they're going to hump the Newcastle Knights. Brisbane Broncos will get the tits. Canberra Raiders.
Sorry, there's a lot of humping and sucking and getting the tits going on. It's a very deeply sexual good punt you're doing.
Canberra Raiders are going to give St. George the licks. And the Parramatta Eels are just going to stuff the Canterbury Bulldogs.
Yeah, nice. So I can already tell that this multi's going to fail when the Sharks beat the Roosters on Friday night. It's going to fail.
Put your money where your mouth is, Chris.
It's going to fail again. Did you bet on the Warriors or the Cowboys?
The Warriors. We're favourites.
Okay, great. I can also see... Did you go Raiders or Dragons? That's a multi-killer right there.
Who's the favourite? Raiders.
See, I can see the Dragons. You know that? Oh, I don't know about this. What I would have liked to have seen next week, if anyone else gets a turn, is 8 games, 8 most likely try scorers.
Well, look, if you show up to work before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you might be able to pick the bet next week. But what you're experiencing there, a little bit of trepidation, that's represented numerically on the TAB as odds. And the odds this week are phenomenal. That's going to pay us out $1,989.71 if that comes in. And I've backed all the favourites. So statistically, I'm more likely to get this one. By the way, this is a bet that we are putting on as the Mad Monday community.
Right.
We're more likely to win it than not.
Okay, so just looking at the weekend gone, favourites from week 6. Storm beat the Roosters. I'd say Storm were the favourites. The Rabbitohs beat the Bulldogs. Yep. The Cowboys were favourites to beat the Dolphins. They lost. Panthers beat the Sea Eagles. Yep. The Broncos were favourites to beat the Raiders. They lost.
Anomaly.
The Dragons were probably favourites to beat the Titans. They lost. The Warriors were favourites to beat the Knights. They lost. And then the Eels did just beat the Tigers. So you've got look, good luck. If it happens, shit, I'll be laughing all the way to the bank with you.
Yeah, absolutely you will. So,
but what happens when you're 2-0? Does someone else get to pick the bet? Or do I have to come in at 10-2?
Yeah, come in a little bit.
Screw that. You're doing a great job. All right, that is the TAB Good Punt for another week. Don't forget, tomorrow we will have a Supercoach special, usually on Tuesdays, but tomorrow it'll be coming out a day delayed. Also, this Saturday, the Warriors taking on the Cowboys, Sky Sport 9, 5 o'clock, Tohu Henwood and Adam Whanua-Kesey, the only undefeated commentary team left on the ACC. Warriors Cows, we'll see you then.
Is not Australia.